The first time I realized my family saw me as furniture was the day they moved me to the folding chair by the kitchen door that I was 72 years old. We ring my good blue dress, the one with the lace collar that Americus always said made me look like a Gardenia. I had spent 4 hours in the kitchen that morning. 4 hours peeling, chopping, stirring, and tasting. 4 hours making my mother's sweet potato casserole, the one with the brown sugar crust and the tiny marshmallows that melt like clouds on your tongue. I ride that dish into my stepdaughter Patricia's house like it was a holy offering that the table was already set when I arrived. 32 place settings. China that Patricia had inherited from her mother-in-law. Silver that had never seen a dishwasher. Crystal glasses that caught the afternoon light and threw it across the walls like scattered diamonds. And at the far end, by the bay window where the sun came in warm and golden, the corner table. The one Americus and I had bought together 23 years ago. The one we had saved for. The one we had walked past in the store window for 3 months, dreaming about retirement, about grandchildren, about all the Thanksgivings we would host. The one I had sat in every year since he died. Derek saw me first. My step-grandson. 30 years old, law degree, $3,000 suit, and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He was standing by the corner table with his sister Melanie, both of them laughing at something on her phone. Ca roll, he said. Not grandma. Not even my name with a smile. Just ca roll. Flat. Dismissive. Like I was the hired help who'd shown up. Rly. I nodded. Derek. Melanie. Happy Thanksgiving. Melanie looked up from her phone. She was a marketing executive. She wore her hair like she was about to be photographed and her expression like she was already bored of the conversation. You can sit over there, she said, gesturing toward the kitchen door. I followed her finger. A folding chair. The metal kind that wobbles. The kind with the faded cushion that smelled like last year's gravy. Positioned so that anyone sitting there would have to twist sideways to see the table, would have to shout to be heard over the kitchen noise, would have to ask 3 times for someone to pass the butter. That's not where I usually sit, I said, my voice softer than I intended. We have more people this year, Melanie said. We need the corner table for photos. The light is better there. You understand. I understood that my husband's daughter Patricia had married Robert, and Robert had built a construction company, and that company had made them rich, and their children had become the center of every family event. I understood that my own children had moved to California and Rly called. I understood that I was the step-grandmother, the leftover, the woman who had married into the family and was now being married out of it. I understood that I was invisible. But I didn't understand why it hurt so much. I set the casserole dish on the counter. My hands were shaking. The arthritis in my right hand had been bad that morning, the joint stiff and aching, but I had pushed through because it was Thanksgiving, because family mattered, because Americus had always said that showing up was half the battle. I had shown up. Now I was being shown out. Patricia, I called. I brought the sweet potato casserole. Patricia emerged from the kitchen. She was 63, my age almost, but she looked younger. Money did that. Money bought the creams and the facials and the clothes that didn't come from the discount rack. Money bought the right to look at your stepmother and see only an inconvenience. Oh, ca roll, she said, wiping her hands on a towel. You shouldn't have gone to all that trouble. We have so much food this year. The words hung in the air. We have so much food. Translation, we have enough. We don't need your casserole. We don't need you. Where should I put it? I asked. She looked around, distracted. Anywhere. The counter. The fridge. Whatever's convenient. I always sit at the corner table, I said again. I hadn't meant to say it. The words came out like a reflex, like a muscle memory from all those years of sitting there, of feeling Americus's presence in the warm wood, of running my fingers over the scratches he'd made when he dropped his fork. Patricia blinked. The corner table. Oh, Derek and Melanie sitting there this year are. They need the space. The photos, you know. We're doing the formal portraits after dinner. Formal portraits. Yes. The grandchildren. The great-grandchildren. It's a tradition. She said it like I wasn't part of that tradition. Like I wasn't part of anything that of course, I heard myself say. The folding chair is fine. It wasn't fine. But I didn't know how to say that. I didn't know how to say that the corner table was the only place I could still feel Americus, that when I sat there I could close my eyes and hear his voice, taste his king, remember the way he squeezed my hand 3 times, I love you, before the stroke took him. I didn't know how to say that the corner table was holy ground. So I took the folding chair. The afternoon passed in a blur of small talk and forced smiles. Derek and Melanie dominated the conversation, talking about their jobs, their investments, their recent trip to Europe. Patricia and Robert basked in their children's success. The younger grandchildren, the ones who didn't know me, ran around the living room like they'd been Suga Red. And I sat in the draft, twisting sideways, shouting to be heard, asking 3 times for the mashed potatoes. No one passed them. I ate dry turkey and cold rolls and watched my family celebrate without me. It wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last. But something in me broke that afternoon. Something quiet and deep and ancient. Something that had survived my mother's death, my father's indifference, my first husband's abandonment, and America's loss. Something that had finally had enough. At 6 o'clock, I made my excuses. Patricia didn't try to stop me. Robert didn't offer to walk me to my car. Derek and Melanie didn't look up from their phones. I drove home in the arcade. The house was cold. America's house. Our house. The house we'd bought for $62,000 RS in 1989. Back when a $62,000 house was a castle. I had kept it exactly the way he'd left it. His tool bench in the garage. His armchair in the living room. His corner of the closet, still holding the shirts I couldn't bear to donate. I sat in his chair. I ate a peanut butter sandwich. And I cried. Not the tidy TRS you see in movies. These were ugly TRS, the kind that come from deep in your chest, the kind that make your nose run and your eyes swell and your throat close up. These were the TRS of a woman who had been erased. I cried for Americus. I cried for the life we'd planned. I cried for the children who'd moved away and the grandchildren who didn't know her name. I cried for the folding chair. And then I got angry. The anger was a surprise. I hadn't felt it in years. I had wrapped myself in grief like a blanket, using it to keep warm, using it to hide. But anger was different. Anger was fire. Anger was heat. Anger was the thing that made you get up off the floor and open the drawer you'd been avoiding. America's desk. The one in the corner. The one he called his puzzle box. I had never opened it. Not once. He'd said it was just papers, just old bills and receipts and the kind of junk that accumulates over a lifetime. I had respected his privacy. I had believed him. I pulled open the drawer. It wasn't junk. There were papers, yes. But not the kind Americus had described. These were carefully organized, meticulously labeled. Loan agreements. Property deeds. A will, handwritten on legal paper, not notarized but signed and dated in the shaky hand of a man who'd known he was running out of time. And at the bottom, wrapped in a plastic sleeve, a single document. The deed to the house. In my name. Americus had made sure of that. But there was something else. A second document, stapled to the first. A loan agreement dated 15 years ago. $47,000 RS. Americus had loaned Patricia and Robert $47,000 RS to START, their construction company. The loan had never been repaid. The interest had never been paid. And the house was listed as collateral. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't arthritis. This time it was something else. Something that felt like justice. The construction company. The one that had built half the houses in our county. The one that was bidding on a $30 million highway project. The one that had made Patricia and Robert rich and entitled and cruel. It had sta root with my husband's money. And it had never been paid back. I sat in M.A. Ruckus's chair, the deed in my hands, and I felt the anger sharpen into something precise. Something cold. Something that could cut. 15 years. They'd had 15 years to make it right. They'd had 15 years to acknowledge what M.A. Ruckus had given them. Instead, they'd spent those years building a life on stolen foundation while I sat in folding chairs and ate peanut butter sandwiches. I picked up the phone. I called my daughter Jennifer in California. It was midnight there. She answered on the third ring, her voice thick with sleep. Mom, is everything okay, Jen? I said. Did your father ever tell you he loaned Patricia money? There was a long pause. Mom, she said quietly. Dad told me. The week before he died. He told me not to say anything to you. He said he didn't want you to worry. He said he'd handle it. He didn't handle it. I know, Mom. I know. I hung up the phone. I looked at the deed. And I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would go to the county records office. I would find every document, every paper, every piece of evidence. I would build a case so airtight that Patricia and Robert would have no choice but to pay. But I wouldn't destroy them. Not yet. First, I would wait. I would wait and see if anyone noticed that I was gone. I would wait and see if anyone called to ask why I hadn't been at Thanksgiving. I would wait and see if anyone at all, missed me. My phone stayed silent. The house stayed cold. And I stayed angry. But the anger was different now. It was controlled. It was strategic. It was the anger of a woman who had found a weapon and was learning how to use it. The corner table wasn't just a seat. It was the symbol of everything I'd lost. And I was going to get it back. By dawn, I had made my plans. I would go to the records office. I would call M.A. Ruckus's lawyer, Edwa Road, the one who'd been his best friend in Vietnam. I would build my case. And then I would decide what to do. But as the sun rose over the house that was legally mine, I realized something else. The deed wasn't just about the house. It was about everything. The years I'd spent being invisible. The holidays I'd spent being dismissed. The family I'd married into that had never really accepted me. They had taken my seat at the corner table. They had taken my dignity. They had taken my casserole and not even offered me a plate. But they hadn't taken the house. Not yet. And they wouldn't. I wasn't just going to make them pay. I was going to make them see. See the woman they'd dismissed. See the mother they'd ignored. See the grandmother they'd erased. See me. I looked at the deed one more time. And then I put it back in the drawer. I had work to do. But first, I called Sophie. My step-granddaughter. Patricia's youngest. The one who'd spent the afternoon of Thanksgiving in the pantry, her phone hidden in her apron, recording everything. I didn't know she'd recorded anything. Not yet. But I was about to find out. And what she'd recorded would change everything. The phone rang 3 times before she answered. Hello, her voice was sleepy, confused. It was almost 7 in the morning in our time zone, which meant it was almost 4 in the afternoon where she was. California. The land of sunshine and distance. The land where my daughter had moved and never looked back. Sophie, I said. It's Grandma C.A. roll. A pause. A long one. Long enough for me to hear her breath catch. Grandma, her voice cracked. I didn't expect you to call. Did you think I wouldn't? Another pause. I heard a door close. I heard her footsteps on what sounded like hardwood floors. I heard her sit down, heard the creak of a chair that needed oiled. I thought you'd hate me, she whispered. After what I did. After I recorded them. I thought you'd be angry. I don't know what you recorded, I said. I just know that you were in the pantry. I saw you there. You had your phone out. And you were watching them. Watching all of them. Sophie sta root crying. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that sounded like she'd been holding it in for a very long time. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done it. I should have said something. I should have stopped them. I should have, Sophie, I interrupted. What did you record? She stopped crying. That you don't know, tell me. Another pause. This one was different. This one was full of something that sounded like hope. Grandma, she said slowly. I recorded them. After you left. All of them. Patricia. Robert. Derek. Melanie. They were laughing. They were. They were laughing about you. I know they were, I said. I could feel it. No, she said. You don't understand. They weren't just laughing. They were planning. They were talking about the house. Your house. The one Dad left you. My hand tightened on the phone. What about the house? They were saying that you're too old to live there alone. That you should sell it. That you should move into a facility. They were saying that if you wouldn't sell, they'd find a way to make you. They talked about getting power of attorney. About making you sign things. She stopped. About what? About putting you in a home, she whispered. One of the cheap ones. The ones that smell like urine. Derek said you wouldn't even notice. He said you're too senile. He said you'd probably think it was a vacation. I didn't speak. That I couldn't. Grandma, you there? I'm here. You okay, Grandma? I know I should have said something. I know I should have stopped them. I was just so red. They're my family. My pa rents. My brother and sister. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there and recorded Anne. Sophie, I said. Send me the recording. What? Send me everything you recorded. Every word. Every laugh. Every single second of it. Yes. Yes, I can do that. But why? What are you going to do with it? I looked at the deed on the table in front of me. I looked at the loan agreement. I looked at America's handwriting, the way he'd signed his name with the little flourish at the end, the way he'd always done when he was making a promise. That I'm going to show them, I said. I'm going to show everyone what they are. Grandma, you can't. They'll deny it. They'll say I fabricated it. They'll say I'm lying. Let them deny it, I said. I don't need to prove it to them. I need to prove it to myself. Sophie was quiet. I'll send it, she said finally. I'll send it right now. Thank you. Grandma, yes, BCA refill. Please. They're not good people. I know they're my family. I know they raised me. But they're not good. And they won't go down easy. I smiled. It was the first time I'd smiled since Thanksgiving. I know, I said. Neither will I. I hung up the phone and waited for the recording to arrive. It came 5 minutes later. A file. A long one. NEARLY 30 minutes of audio. I played it. And I listened. I heard Derek's voice first. Loud. Confident. The voice of a man who'd never been told he was wrong. That the old bat will get over it, he was saying. She always does. She's like a cockroach. You can't kill her, you can only push her into a corner. Patricia laughed. Derek, don't be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. She's been hanging around for 23 years of showing up with casseroles and expecting to be treated like she belongs. She doesn't belong. She's not our family. She was just Dad's mistake. She was Dad's wife, Patricia said, but her voice was weak. Defensive. The voice of someone who knew she should disagree but didn't want to. Stepwife, Melanie corrected. And she didn't even do that well. Dad died and she just sat there. For 15 years. Just sat there in that house, collecting his pension, doing nothing. Someone should do something, Derek said. Someone should do what she won't. Get her out of that house. Sell it. Use the money for something useful. We tried, Patricia said. We've been trying. She won't listen. She won't even talk about it. Every time I bring it up, she just looks at me. She just res. Then stop asking, Derek said. Just do it. Get power of attorney. Get a court order. Get her declared incompetent. It's not her road. I know a lawyer who handles these things. A lawyer, Derek, that's unethical. It's practical. She's 72. She's alone. She has no one. Who's going to stop us? Her children in California, they don't see a re. They never call. They never visit. They're waiting for her to die so they can split the insurance money. The recording went on. I listened to all of it. Every cruel word. Every dismissive laugh. Every plan to strip me of my home, my dignity, my life. When it was over, I sat in silence for a long time. I thought about Patricia. About the daughter I'd never really known. About the girl who'd been 15 when I married her father, who'd resented me from the first moment, who'd never forgiven me for taking her mother's place. I thought about Robert. About the man who'd borrowed $47,000 and never said thank you. I thought about Derek and Melanie. About the grandchildren who saw me as an obstacle to be removed. And I thought about Sophie. About the granddaughter who'd hidden in a pantry and recorded every word, not because she wanted to hurt them, but because she couldn't be or what they were doing. I picked up the phone again. I called Edwa Road America's best friend. The lawyer. The man who'd served with him in Vietnam, who'd come home with him, who'd stood beside him at our wedding. Ca roll, he said. His voice was old and slow but still RP, it's late. Is something wrong? Something's been wrong for 15 years, Edwa Road. I just didn't know how to see it until now. I told him everything. The deed. The loan agreement. The recording. The planning. The plot to take my house, my money, my life. Edward listened in silence. When I finished, he let out a long breath. Ca roll, he said. I knew about the loan. Americus told me. He told me he'd given Patricia and Robert the money. He told me they'd never paid it back. He told me he wanted to do something about it, but he was too sick. He asked me to wait. He asked me to let him handle it when he was better. But he never got better. He never told me. I said that he didn't want to worry you. He wanted to protect you. He knew Patricia. He knew what she was like. He thought if you didn't know, you couldn't be hurt by it. But I was hurt anyway, I said. I was hurt every single day. Edward was quiet. Americus loved you, he said finally. He loved you more than anything. He just didn't always know how to show it. He thought if he shielded you from the hard things, you'd be happy. He didn't understand that the hard things were the ones that were hurting you. I thought about Americus. About the man who'd squeezed my hand 3 times and told me he loved me. About the man who'd left me with a house and a deed and a problem he hadn't been able to solve. I'm going to fix this, I said. Not for him. For me. What do you need? I need you to help me build a case. I need you to help me understand my options. I need you to tell me what I can and can't do. I can do that, Edwa Road said. I can do more than that. I can help you make them pay. I smiled. I don't want them to pay, Edwa Road. I want them to understand. I want them to see what they've done. I want them to know that I'm not invisible. That I'm not a cockroach. That I'm not a problem to be solved. Then what do you want? I looked at the deed on my table. That I want to show them who I really am. The next morning, I got in my car and drove to the county records office. That I walked in with my comfortable shoes and my thermos of coffee and my list of everything I needed to find. The original marriage certificate. The property tax records. The will Americus had written on legal paper. The deed. The loan agreement. The clerk was a young woman with purple hair and a nose ring and a smile that made me feel like I was the most interesting person she'd met all week. Finding something important, she asked at everything. I said that I spent 3 days in that office. 3 days of flipping through microfilm and scanning old documents and drinking coffee from my thermos. 3 days of building a story. By the end of it, I had everything I needed. That I had proof that the house was mine. I had proof that Americus had intended for me to have it, free and clear. I had proof that Patricia and Robert had borrowed money and never returned it. I had proof that they'd used the house as collateral without my knowledge or consent. I had proof that they'd planned to take everything from me. And I had a decision to make. That I could sue them. I could take them to court and demand the full amount of the loan plus interest. I could take the house they lived in, the house they'd built with Americus's money. I could destroy everything they'd built. Or I could do something else. I could give them a choice. Edward met me at his office. He was older than I remembered, his face more lined, his hands more shaky. But his eyes were still sharp, still focused. You have the case, he said. You could win. You could win big. I know. So why aren't you happy? I sat down in the chair across from his desk. I looked at the papers spread out in front of me. The evidence of everything I'd lost and everything I could gain. Because winning isn't the same as being right, I said. And being right isn't the same as being whole. Edward looked at me for a long time. You sound like Americus, he said. You sound like him when he was young. Before the war. Before everything. Americus was a good man, I said. That he was the best, Edward agreed. And he loved you. He loved you with every part of himself. But he was also wrong. He was wrong to keep things from you. He was wrong to try to protect you from the truth. The truth was the only thing that could have protected you. I nodded. I'm not going to make that mistake, I said. I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to tell them everything. And then I'm going to let them decide what happens next. That's dangerous, Edward warned. People don't always respond well to the truth. Sometimes they respond with anger. Sometimes they respond with violence. Then I'll handle it, I said. That I left Edward's office and drove home. The house was waiting for me. Cold and quiet and full of memories. But it wasn't just a house anymore. It was a fortress. And I was ready to defend it. The first person I called was Patricia. Mom, she said, and I felt the word in my chest. She hadn't called me that in years. Not since Americus died. Patricia, I said. We need to talk. About what? About everything. There was a silence. A long one. Ca roll, she said ruefully. I don't think that's a good idea. Not right now. We can talk after the holidays. After everything settles down. After the holidays, I repeated. After you've had time to plan. After you've had time to talk to your lawyer. After you've figured out how to get power of attorney. The silence on the other end of the phone was different now. It was the silence of someone who'd been caught. What are you talking about? She whispered. I'm talking about the house, I said. I'm talking about the loan. I'm talking about the recording. Recording, I let the word hang. Patricia, I said. I know everything. And then I hung up. I didn't need to hear her response. I didn't need to hear her excuses. I didn't need to hear her lies, that I knew the truth. And the truth was the only weapon I needed. The doorbell rang at 7 that night. That I opened it. Sophie was standing on my porch. That she was crying. That he told me, she said. Derek told me, you know. He said you have the recording. He said you're going to destroy us. He said, Sophie, I interrupted. I'm not going to destroy anyone. I'm going to tell the truth. She looked at me, her eyes wide, her face pale. The truth, that's all I've ever wanted, I said. That's all anyone ever wants. The truth. I stepped aside and let her in. The sun was setting over the garden I'd planted for Americus. The one he'd never seen. The one that had grown wild and beautiful in the years since he'd died. Grandma, Sophie said. What are you going to do? I looked at her. I looked at the girl who'd recorded her family's cruelty. The girl who'd come to me with flour on her apron and tears in her eyes. The girl who'd chosen me when she could have chosen them. I'm going to give them a chance, I said. A chance to do the right thing. A chance to make it right. And if they don't take it, I'm going to show everyone exactly who they really are. I could feel the trembling in my hands, but I didn't let it show. This was the moment where everything could break or everything could be built. I had to hold steady. Sophie came to me and wrapped her arms around my thin shoulders. I felt her shiver. You're not like them, Grandma. You're not like any of them. I know, I said. I never was. The porch light flickered once, twice, then went still, and in the sudden quiet I heard footsteps on the gravel path. Someone was coming. Someone who had been given the truth and chose to run toward it, or run away from it, or maybe, just maybe, run to meet me head on. I looked at Sophie, and she looked back at me, and I realized I was done waiting. The truth had left my mouth and was out in the world now. And nothing would ever be the same. The footsteps on the gravel stopped at my porch steps. I opened the door before they could knock. Patricia stood there. Alone. No Robert. No Derek. No Melanie. Just Patricia, in her expensive coat and her expensive shoes, her face pale and her eyes red. I came alone, she said. I thought we should talk. Just us. Like we used to. She said it like we had ever talked. Like we had ever been close. Like we had ever been anything but strangers who shared a dining table twice a year. I stepped aside and let her in. She walked past me into the living room. She looked around. I could see her taking it in. America's chair. The worn rug. The photographs on the mantel. The kitchen where I'd spent so many hours alone. This house hasn't changed, she said. I didn't want it to. You should have changed it. You should have made it your own. You should have, Patricia, I said. You didn't come here to talk about my decorating choices. She flinched. I watched her. The woman who had been my stepdaughter for 23 years. The woman who had never really accepted me. The woman who had planned to take everything I had. I listened to the recording, I said. All of it. She sat down. Not on the couch. On America's chair. She sat in his chair like she had every right to be there. I was angry, she said. We were all angry. It was Thanksgiving, and you were. You were just there. And we didn't know how to. We didn't know how to include me, how to treat me like a person, how to remember that I was your father's wife. You weren't just Dad's wife, she said sharply. You were the woman who replaced my mother. Do you have any idea what that was like? Do you have any idea how it felt to watch him why someone else to watch him forget about Mom? Your mother died 25 years ago, I said. Your father was alone for 10 years before I met him. 10 years. He spent 10 years grieving. 10 years trying to raise you by himself. 10 years of doing everything he could to make sure you were taken care of. And then I came along, and I loved him, and I tried to love you too. But you never let me. She looked at me. Her eyes were wet, but her jaw was tight. He gave you everything, she said. The house. The money. Everything he had. He left me nothing. Nothing. He left you the loan, I said. She froze. The loan of $47,000 I said. The money he gave you and Robert to start the construction company. The money you never paid back. Patricia's face changed. The anger drained out of it, replaced by something else. Surprise. Fia, or I couldn't tell that. You knew about that. I know everything, I said. I know about the loan. I know about the house being listed as collateral. I know about your plans to get power of attorney. I know about the home you wanted to put me in. She stood up. Her hands were shaking. That recording, she said. That's not what it sounds like. We were angry. We were frustrated. We didn't mean what we said. You meant every word, I said. You meant it when you said I was a cockroach. You meant it when you said I should be pushed into a corner. You meant it when you said I didn't belong. She sta root crying. Real TRS. The kind that came from deep inside. I didn't know Derek was going to say those things. I didn't know he was planning all of that. I didn't know about the lawyer. I didn't know about any of it. Did you stop him? What did you stop him when he talked about the home? When he talked about getting me read incompetent? Did you say anything? Did you tell him it was wrong? She didn't answer. Patricia, I said. I need you to answer me. I couldn't, she whispered. I couldn't stop him. He's my son. He's so strong-willed. He's cruel, I said. And you let him be cruel. You let all of them be cruel. You sat there and you watched and you said nothing. She broke then. She collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how to stop it. They're my children. My husband. My family. And you were just Dad's wife. You were just there. And I didn't know how to include you. I didn't know how to love me, I said. You didn't know how to love me. She looked up at me. Her face was a mess. Mascara running. Nose running. The elegant woman from Thanksgiving was gone. In her place was someone broken. I tried, she said. I really did. When Dad first brought you home, I tried. I tried so hard. But it was too soon. And then it was too late. And then you were just there all the time, and I couldn't. You couldn't accept that your father had moved on. I couldn't, she admitted. I couldn't accept any of it. And then he died, and you stayed, and I didn't know what to do with you. You were a reminder of everything I'd lost. Everything I'd never had. I sat down across from her. I lost him too, I said. I lost him just as much as you did. Maybe more. I lost the man I loved. The man I'd chosen. The man who'd chosen me. And you lost your father. I get that. I understand that. But that doesn't give you the right to treat me the way you did. She was quiet. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I know I don't deserve it. I came here because I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you that I know what I did was wrong. I know what I let them do was wrong. And I'm sorry. I looked at her. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to and her love. All the years I'd spent bringing casseroles and hoping for a smile. All the years I'd spent sitting in folding chairs and pretending it didn't hurt. Patricia, I said. I'm not going to destroy you. I'm not going to destroy your family. But I need you to understand something. I need you to understand that I'm done being invisible. She nodded that, what do you want me to do? I want you to pay back the loan. With interest. I want you to sign over the house you're living in. The one that's listed as collateral. I want you to give me what's mine. She looked at me. Her face was paled up. That's everything we have. That's our home. Our business. Everything we've built. I know, I said. And if you don't do it, I'll take it all anyway. Through the courts. Through the legal system. And you won't have a choice. She sta root crying again. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. Please. We'll pay you back. We'll set up a payment plan. We'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't take our home. I stood up. I'm not taking your home, I said. I'm taking back what's mine. And what's mine is everything Marcus gave me. Everything he wanted me to have. Everything you tried to take away. She didn't speak. She just sat there, crying, her hands in her lap, her whole body shaking. I walked to the door. You should go, I said. Think about what I said. I'll give you a week. 1 week to make a decision. And then I'll take legal action. She stood up. She walked toward me. At the door, she stopped. Ca roll, she said. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter. I know it can't fix anything. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I opened the door. The night air rushed in. Good night, Patricia, I said. She walked out into the darkness. I closed the door behind her and leaned against it. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. I hadn't realized how much energy it had taken to say all of that. To confront her. To stand my ground. Grandma. Sophie was standing in the kitchen doorway. She'd been listening. Of course she'd been listening. Did you hear everything? I asked. Yes. And, she walked toward me. She was wearing an apron. She'd been king. I could smell cinnamon and butter and something sweet. I heard you give her a chance, Sophie said. I heard you give her a way out. I heard you give her more than she ever gave you. I looked at her. Was that wrong? No, she said. It was right. It was the right thing to do. But I have to ask you something. What are you going to forgive her? I thought about it. I don't know, I said. I don't know if I can. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I know I'm not going to let her destroy me. Not anymore. Sophie hugged me. Good, she said. Because you're the only grandmother I've got. And I'm not ready to lose you. That night, I sat in Marcus's chair. I thought about Patricia. About the girl she'd been. About the woman she'd become. About all the years of resentment and pain that had shaped her. I thought about Sophie. About the granddaughter who'd come to me, not because she wanted something, but because she wanted to be different. I thought about the corner table. And I thought about the deed. The deed was still in my pocket. I pulled it out and looked at it. The paper was yellowed. The ink was faded. But the words were clear. This house belongs to Ca Roll Davis. It had always belonged to me. I just hadn't realized it. The phone rang at midnight. I picked it up. Ca Roll Edward's voice. He sounded worried. I just got a call from Patricia. She told me about your conversation. She told me what you asked for. Yes, she's going to do it. She's going to sign over the house. She's going to pay back the loan. She's going to give you everything you asked for. I didn't speak. Ca Roll, did you hear me? I heard you. I said. Are you okay? You sound like you're not sure. I looked at the deed in my hand. I looked at the house I'd lived in for 30 years. I looked at the life I'd built and the life I'd lost. I'm fine, I said. I'm just not sure this is the ending I wanted. Then what do you want? I thought about it. I want them to understand, I said. I want them to see what they did. I want them to feel what I felt. I want them to know that they can't just push people into corners and expect them to stay there. That's not revenge, Edwa Road said. That's justice. Maybe, I said. Maybe that's all I ever wanted. I hung up the phone. I went to the window. The GA Ruden was de RK. The GA Ruden was quiet. The GA Ruden was waiting for spring. And I was waiting too. Waiting to see what came next. Waiting to see if Patricia would keep her promise. Waiting to see if everything I'd fought for would actually mean something. I didn't know the answer. But I knew one thing, that I wasn't going to sit in a folding chair anymore. I was going to sit in my seat. And no one was going to move me. The papers arrived on a Tuesday. I signed for them myself. The mailman looked at me with something like pity, or maybe just curiosity. An old woman in a worn cardigan, accepting an envelope that felt like it held the weight of everything. I ried it inside and laid it on the kitchen table. The table where I'd eaten so many meals alone. The table where I'd cried so many tears. I opened the envelope slowly, deliberately, as if each movement was a ritual. Inside was a legal document. A transfer of ownership. The house Patricia and Robert had lived in for 20 years. The house with the pool and the 4CA rage and the marbly countertops. The house that had been built with M.A. Ruckus's money. It was mine now. I read the document 3 times. Then I set it aside and made a pot of tea. Edward arrived an hour later. He had a briefcase and a grim expression and the same suspenders he'd worn for 40 years. You did it, he said, sitting down at the kitchen table. Patricia did it, I corrected. She kept her word. You gave her a choice. She chose wisely. That says something. I poured him a cup of tea. He took it with 2 cigars, the way M.A. Ruckus used to. The way he'd always taken it. I thought I'd feel different, I said. Different how? I thought I'd feel triumphant. Victorious. Like I'd won something. And you don't. I looked at the document. Then I looked at the GA Ruden outside my window. The GA Ruden M.A. Ruckus had planted, the one I'd tended for 15 years, the one that was finally waking up after the long winter. I feel tired, I said. I feel like I ran a marathon and I'm not sure I crossed the finish line. Edward sipped his tea. Victory isn't always loud, he said. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just a deep breath after holding it for too long. M.A. Ruckus used to say that, I said. He used to say, the quiet wins are the ones that last. He was right. Edwa Road set down his cup. So what are you going to do with the house? I hadn't thought about that. Not really. I'd been so focused on getting it, on proving I could, on showing Patricia and Robert that I wasn't a cockroach to be pushed into a corner, that I hadn't considered what came after to sell it, I said. Maybe. Or. I don't know. Part of me wants to keep it. Part of me wants to fill it with something. Something meaningful. Edwa Road nodded. That would be a good way to honor M.A. Ruckus. You think so? M.A. Ruckus was a builder. That's what he did. He built things. He built his business. He built this house. He built a family. He spent his whole life putting things together. You'd be doing the same thing. I thought about that. I thought about all the things M.A. Ruckus had built. The shelves in the GA Rage. The GA Ruden in the Bacchier Road. The life we'd created together. The legacy he'd left behind. And then I thought about Patricia. About Robert. About Derek and Melanie. About the family that had tried to tear down everything M.A. Ruckus had built. Edwa Road, I said. I have an idea. But I need you to help me with the legal RTS. Name it. The next week was a blur of paperwork and phone calls. I hired a real estate agent. I listed the house. I didn't ask for top dollar. I didn't ask for a bidding war. I asked for something else. Something specific. Something that made the agent stare at me like I'd grown a second head. That you're selling it to a non-profit, she asked. At below market rate ca roll, that's not how real estate works. You could get so much more money if you. I don't want more money, I said. I want the house to become something. Something useful. Something that helps people. The agent looked at me like she couldn't understand that. Helps people how? I haven't decided yet, I admitted. But I know what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be another monument to greed. I don't want it to be another place where families tear each other apart. I want it to be a place where people come together. It took 3 weeks to find the right buyer. 3 weeks of meetings and interviews and site visits. 3 weeks of Patricia and Robert calling me, asking if I'd changed my mind, asking if they could buy it back, asking if there was any way to undo what they'd done. That I told them no. That I told them the house was already promised. That I told them it was going to become something they never expected. The buyer was a woman named Grace. She was 65 years old and had just retired from a lifetime of teaching high school English. She'd been saving for years to buy a property where she could start something new. A community center. A place where people could create, connect. When she saw the house, she cried at ca roll, she said, wiping her eyes. This is perfect. This is more than I could have dreamed. The space. The grounds. The potential. How did you find me? I didn't, I said. I found the idea. And then I found you. Grace was the kind of woman who believed in second chances. She'd spent 30 years teaching teenagers who had been written off by everyone else. She'd spent 30 years showing them they mattered. She'd spent 30 years building a life around the idea that everyone deserves a seat at the table. When I told her about the corner table, about the folding chair, about all the years I'd spent being invisible, she didn't look surprised. That I've seen it 1,000 times, she said. The people who get pushed to the edges. The ones who are told they don't belong. The ones who show up anyway because they have nowhere else to go. That's why I became a teacher. That's why I wanted to do this. She shook her head. That you could have sold this house for millions. You could have kept the money. You could have done anything you wanted. Why did you choose to do this? I thought about Americus. About the way he'd squeezed my hand 3 times. I love you. I thought about Sophie. About the recording she'd made. About the grandmother she'd chosen. Because I had a choice, I said. And I wanted to use it to build something. Not to destroy something. Grace hugged me. I'm going to make you proud, she said. I'm going to fill this house with light. With hope. With people. I'm going to make it everything you dreamed it could be. The transfer was completed on a Friday. I drove to the house one last time. Patricia and Robert had already moved out. The furniture was gone. The photos were gone. The marble countertops were clean and bare. The pool was empty, waiting to be filled. I walked through every room. I touched the walls. I thought about all the dinners that had been eaten here. All the holidays that had been celebrated. All the arguments that had been had. All the love that had been absent. I found the corner table. It was still there. The one Patricia had bought for the dining room. The one she'd used to replace Americus's table. The one Derek and Melanie had sat at on Thanksgiving. I walked up to it and touched the wood. Then I turned around. Sophie, you can come in now. Sophie stepped through the doorway. She'd been waiting outside. She had flour on her apron and a camera in her hand. I want you to take a picture, I said. Of what? Of me. Sitting at this table. One last time. I sat down at the corner table. The seat where Americus had always sat. The seat where Derek and Melanie had sat on Thanksgiving. The seat that had sta root all of this. Sophie raised her camera. Smile, Grandma, she said. I smiled. The picture was beautiful. I looked like I belonged. I looked like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. One more, Sophie said. This time, look at the camera. Look at me. I looked into the lens. Sophie took the picture. What are you going to do with these? I asked. I'm going to keep them, she said. I'm going to remember this day. The day you took back what was yours. The day you chose to build instead of destroy. We walked out of the house together. Grace was standing by the front gate. She had a team of volunteers behind her. People who were ready to start the work of transformation. We'll break ground next week, she said. We'll start with the kitchen. That's where everything begins, right in the kitchen. Around a table. Promise me something, I said. Anything. Promise me there will always be a corner table. And promise me that everyone will be allowed to sit there. Grace smiled. I promise, she said. That night, I sat in my den. The sun was setting. The flowers were blooming. The air was warm and soft and full of the promise of summer. Sophie was sitting next to me. She had her phone out. She was looking at something. Grandma, she said. I got a message from my mother. Patricia, what does she want? She wants to come over. She wants to talk to you. She says it's important. I thought about it. It had been weeks since I'd seen her. Weeks since she'd signed over the house. Weeks since I'd told her I was selling it to a non-profit. Tell her she can come, I said. Sophie sent the message. Patricia arrived an hour later. She was wearing a simple dress. No expensive shoes. No designer handbag. She looked like she'd been humbled by the whole experience. Ca roll, she said, standing at the gate. Thank you for seeing me. Come in, I said. She walked into the den. She sat down on the bench across from me. Sophie was standing nearby, watching. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, Patricia said. I know I've lost any claim to your trust. But I wanted to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Tell me. I was wrong, she said. About everything. About you. About the way I treated you. I was so angry at my father for moving on that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. I couldn't see that you weren't trying to replace my mother. You were just trying to love him. And he loved you. He loved you so much. I didn't speak. I used to watch him, Patricia continued. After he married you. I used to watch how he looked at you. How he held your hand. How he smiled when you walked into the room. I'd never seen him that happy. Not when Mom was alive. Not ever. And I hated you for it. I hated you because you gave him something I never could. Patricia, I said quietly. I didn't take your father away from you. I just gave him a reason to keep living. She sta root crying again. I know, she said. I know that now. But it took losing everything to realize it. We sat in silence. The sun had gone down. The den was getting cold. Patricia, I said. I've been thinking about something. About the house. About the den. What Americus would have wanted you to have a second chance. That's who he was. That's who he always was. He believed in redemption. He believed in forgiveness. I don't deserve forgiveness, she said. Maybe not, I said. But I'm not offering it. Not yet. I'm offering something else. What? I looked at her. I looked at the woman who'd tried to take everything from me. The woman who'd been too blind to see what she had. I'm going to give you a job, I said. In the community center. Grace needs help. She needs volunteers. She needs people who can help build something new. Patricia looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Do you want me to work at the community center in the house you took from me? I want you to help me build something, I said. I want you to be part of the solution. Not part of the problem. I want you to learn what it means to give instead of take. She read at me that why would you do that after everything I did? I thought about Marcus. I thought about the way he'd always believed in second chances. I thought about the way he'd taught me that people can change that because I'm not like you, I said. I'm not going to destroy. I'm going to build. Patricia root crying again. But this time, it was different. This time, it was the cry of someone who finally understood. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. That I felt hope. Patricia showed up at the community center the next morning. That I wasn't there. Grace told me later. She said Patricia arrived at 7 o'clock, before anyone else, wearing old jeans and a faded t-shirt and work gloves that looked like they'd never been used. She stood at the gate for 10 minutes, Grace said on the phone. Just stood there. Like she was waiting for permission to come in. Did you let her in? I opened the gate and handed her a paintbrush. Told her the kitchen needed a fresh coat. She took it without a word and root painting. I hung up the phone and tried to imagine it. Patricia. Painting. In the house that had once been hers. In the house she'd lost. That I couldn't picture it. But I wanted to. I drove to the center that afternoon. I told myself I was just checking on progress. I told myself I wanted to see how the renovation was coming along. But the truth was simpler. I wanted to see her. The house looked different. The outside had been cleaned. The windows were open. I could hear our voices inside. Laughter. That I walked through the front door. That the kitchen was transformed. The walls were a soft yellow. The cabinets had been repainted white. The floors were clean. And in the corner table was still there. Grace had kept it. Patricia was at the sink. She was washing paintbrushes. Her hands were covered in paint. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. She looked up when I came in. Roll, she said. I didn't expect you. I came to see the progress. She nodded. She looked uncomfortable. Like she didn't know what to do with her hands. I'm almost done here, she said. The kitchen is ready. Grace wants to start using it next week. She's planning some king classes. That's wonderful. Sophie is going to help. She's good at that. The king. She learned from you, I think. From your recipes. I didn't know what to say. Patricia had never acknowledged my king before. She'd never acknowledged anything I'd done. Patricia, I said. Why are you here? She put down the paintbrush. Because you asked me to come, she said. And because I don't want to be the person I was anymore. I've spent 23 years being angry. 23 years being resentful. 23 years pushing you away. And all it did was make me miserable. Just miserable, more than miserable. It made me cruel. It made my children cruel. I saw that. When I heard the recording. When I heard Derek say those things. I realized I'd raised them to be just like me. Patricia, let me finish, she said. I need to say this. I waited. I've spent my whole life trying to hold on to things. The house. The money. The status. I thought if I had enough, I'd be safe. I thought if I pushed everyone else away, I'd protect what was mine. But I was wrong. All I did was push away the people who mattered. She picked up another brush and root scrubbing. I don't know if I can change, she said. I don't know if I can be different. But I want to try. And I'm rooting here. I walked over to the corner table. I ran my hand over the wood. Marcus always believed people could change, I said. He believed in second chances. He gave them to everyone. Even when they didn't deserve them. Did he give one to me? He gave you the loan, I said. He gave you the money to start your business. He believed you could build something. He believed you could do something good. Patricia stopped scrubbing that. He was wrong, she said quietly. I didn't build anything good. I built a business that made me rich and a family that made me empty. I built something that looked successful on the outside and was hollow on the inside. Then build something else, I said. She looked at me. What? Build something else? Something real. Something that matters. You can't change the past. But you can change what comes next. She was quiet for a long time. I don't know how, she said finally. Neither did I said. I didn't know how to stand up to you. I didn't know how to fight back. I didn't know how to take what was mine. But I figured it out. And so can you. She root crying. Not the angry crying from before. Something softer. Something that sounded like relief. I'm so sorry, she said. I'm so sorry for everything I did. I know, I said. I know you are. But I didn't say I forgave her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I was rooting to understand that forgiveness wasn't something you gave to someone else. It was something you gave to yourself. I left the center that evening feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The GA Ruden was waiting for me when I got home. M.A. Rukus's GA Ruden. The one he'd planted and I'd tended. The one that was now in full bloom. I walked through the rows of flowers. I touched the petals. And I felt him there. Not in a ghostly way. Not in a supernatural way. In the way you feel someone who's shaped your life. In the way you feel someone who taught you how to love. The next few weeks were busy. Grace kept me updated on the center's progress. The renovation was moving faster than anyone expected. Volunteers came from everywhere. Neighbors. Friends. Strangers who'd heard about the project and wanted to help. Patricia was there every day. She painted. She cleaned. She organized. She did everything Grace asked and more. Sophie came too. She taught King classes on the weekends. She made my sweet potato casserole for the first time. She said it wasn't as good as mine, but everyone ate it anyway. Derek and Melanie didn't come. I didn't expect them to. They were still angry. Still resentful. Still the same people they'd always been. But Patricia was changing. I saw it in the way she talked to the volunteers. The way she treated the children who came to the center after school. The way she smiled when someone thanked her for her work. You're proud of her, Edwa Rhodes said one afternoon. We were sitting in my GA Ruden, drinking tea, watching the sun go down. Proud isn't the right word, I said. Maybe. I don't know. Surprised, relieved, both, I think. Maybe. CA roll, he said. You did something remarkable. You didn't destroy her. You didn't take everything. You gave her a chance to rebuild. That's more than most people would have done. I didn't do it for her, I said. I did it for me. I know. That's what makes it remarkable. The grand opening of the center was planned for the first Saturday in June. Grace sent me an invitation. It was beautiful. Hand-painted. With a picture of the corner table on the front. You have to come, Sophie said. She was standing in my kitchen, helping me make pies for the opening. Everyone's going to be there. The mayor. The newspaper. Everyone. Everyone except Derek and Melanie, I said. Dad and I haven't spoken in weeks, Sophie said quietly. He's still angry. He says I betrayed the family. He says I shouldn't have recorded them. Did you record them? No. Betray your family. Sophie stopped mixing the dough. I don't think so, she said. I think I chose to be loyal to what's right. That's not the same as betraying anyone. If they were doing the right thing, there wouldn't have been anything to record. I looked at her. She was so young. So determined. So sure of what she believed. Your grandmother, I said. Your real grandmother. Patricia's mother. She would have been proud of you. Sophie looked up. Do you think so? I know so. Americus told me about her. She was a good woman. A strong woman. She would have wanted you to stand up for what's right. Sophie sta root crying. Thank you, she whispered. That means more than you know. The opening was everything Grace had promised. The center was filled with people. Neighbors. Volunteers. Families. The mayor gave a speech. The newspaper took photos. Everyone was smiling and laughing and talking about all the things they were going to do. I stood in the corner. I watched. And I smiled. Patricia was in the kitchen. She was helping serve food. She looked happy. Really happy. Not the fake happiness she'd worn for years, something real. Sophie was with her. They were laughing together. Mother and daughter. Rebuilding something they'd both broken. I walked over to the corner table. It was empty. Waiting. Waiting for someone to sit there. I sat down. And I thought about Americus. I thought about the first time he'd brought me to this house. 23 years ago. I'd been nervous. Uncertain. SCA read that Patricia wouldn't accept me. I told you, Americus had said. They're going to love you. How could they not? They hadn't loved me. Not at first. Maybe not ever. But that didn't matter anymore. I had built something else. Something that couldn't be taken away. Grandma, Sophie was standing next to me. She had a plate of pies in her hands. Try one, she said. I made them. From your recipe. I took a pie. I bit into it. It was perfect. Sophie, I said. I want to tell you something. What? I'm proud of you. Not just for recording them. Not just for coming to me. For being you. For being the kind of person who stands up for what's right. She hugged me. I learned it from you, she said. No, I said. You were always that person. I just helped you find it. I looked around the room. At all the people who had come together to build something new. At all the people who had chosen hope over hate. Grandma, Sophie said. Can I ask you something? Anything? What do you think Americus would say if he could see this? I looked at the corner table. I looked at the kitchen. I looked at Patricia, laughing, serving food, building something new. I thought about it. I think he'd say, see, I told you. I told you things would work out. Sophie laughed. It was a beautiful sound. He sounds like he was a good man, she said. He was the best, I said. The party went on for hours. People came and went. Everyone had a story. Everyone had a reason to be there. And through it all, I sat at the corner table. I thought about the deed. The piece of paper that had sta root everything. The piece of paper that had given me permission to claim my life. I thought about Patricia. About the woman she'd been and the woman she was becoming. I thought about Sophie. About the granddaughter who'd chosen me over everything else. And I thought about Americus. About the man who'd squeezed my hand 3 times and given me all the strength I would ever need. Ca roll. Patricia was standing next to me. She had tears in her eyes. Thank you, she said. For giving me another chance. For believing I could change. For not giving up on me. I looked at her. I didn't say I forgave her. I didn't say everything was okay. But I reached out and took her hand. And I squeezed it 3 times. I love you. Not the words. The gesture. Patricia understood. She squeezed back. And I knew that everything was going to be okay. Because the deed hadn't just given me a house. It had given me a family. And that was worth more than anything. I looked around the room. Grace. Sophie. Patricia. All the people who had come together, that I realized something, that the corner table wasn't just a seat, that it was a symbol of all the people who had been pushed aside. All the people who had been told they didn't belong. All the people who had found a way to sit down and stay, that I was one of them. And I would never be invisible again. The summer passed like water through my fingers. Warm and quick and full of light. The community center blossomed. Grace's vision became real. King classes in the kitchen. ART classes in the living room. A garden in the backyard where children learned to plant tomatoes and adults learned to plant hope. That I went there every day. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. Sophie moved back from California. She said she'd had enough of the city. Enough of the noise. Enough of the distance. She wanted to be close to the center. Close to the garden. Close to me. You don't have to do that, I told her. You have your life. Your career. Your future. My future is here, she said. With you. With the garden. With the center. This is where I belong. She wrote a program for teenagers. ART therapy. She said she'd learned about it in school. She said it helped people process their feelings. She said it helped people heal. I watched her work. I watched her help. I watched her become the person she'd always wanted to be. Patricia was there too. Every day. She'd become Grace's right hand. She organized volunteers. She managed the schedule. She made sure everything ran smoothly. It was strange to see her like that. Strange to see the woman who'd once tried to take everything from me now giving everything she had. But it wasn't strange in a bad way. It was strange in a way that made me believe in second chances. One afternoon in August, I was sitting in the garden. The tomatoes were ripe. The sunflowers were tall. The air smelled like earth and flowers and the promise of autumn. Sophie came out with 2 glasses of lemonade. Grandma, she said. I need to tell you something. What? She sat down next to me. She looked nervous. Derek called me this morning, she said. He wants to come to the center. He wants to see what we've done. I didn't speak. I told him it wasn't my decision. I told him he'd have to ask you. Derek, I said slowly. Your brother. The one who wanted to put me in a home. Grandma, I know. I know what he said. I know what he did. But he's my brother. And he's been different lately. Since everything happened. Since the house. Since Mom root coming here. Different how he's been talking to Mom. She's been telling him about the center. About what we're building. About how everything changed. He asked her if she thought there was a chance. A chance to make things right. I thought about Derek. The law degree. The expensive suits. The smile that never reached his eyes. The man who'd pointed me to the folding chair. I don't know, I said. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Sophie nodded. I understand. I told him that. I told him you might not want to see him. I told him he'd have to earn it. How did he respond? He said he understood. He said he'd wait. He said he'd prove he could be different. I sipped my lemonade. The garden was quiet. Tell him he can come, I said finally. Tell him I'll meet him here. In the garden. On Saturday. Sophie looked at me. Are you sure? I'm not sure of anything, I said. But I'm learning that people can change. And if your mother can change, maybe your brother can too. Saturday came faster than I expected. I woke up early. I put on my good blue dress. The one with the lace collar. The one Marcus always said made me look like a gardenia. I didn't know why I wanted to look nice. Maybe because I wanted to show Derek who I was. Maybe because I wanted him to see the woman he'd dismissed. Maybe because I wanted to remind him that I wasn't a cockroach. I was at GA Rudinia. He arrived at 10. Sophie brought him to the GA Ruden. He was wearing jeans. No suit. No tie. He looked uncomfortable. Out of place. Ca roll, he said. Thank you for seeing me. I gestured to the bench across from me. Sit down. Saturday we were quiet for a long time. The sun was warm. The flowers were swaying in the breeze. I could hear the voices of the volunteers in the center. Laughter. Happiness. I don't know where to start, Derek said finally. I don't know how to say what I need to say. Start at the beginning, I said. It's the beginning of everything. The Thanksgiving. The corner table. The recording. He flinched at the word recording. I was wrong, he said. I was so wrong. About everything. About you. About the house. About all of it. Wrong how? He looked at me. He looked at the GA Ruden. He looked at the center. I thought you were weak, he said. I thought you were just some old woman who was in the way. I thought you didn't deserve what my grandfather left you. I thought you were a burden. A problem. Something to be managed. And now I know I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. You're not weak. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You're not a burden. You're the heart of this whole family. You're not a problem. You're the solution. I didn't speak to I heard what you did, he continued. I heard about the center. I heard about how you gave Mom a chance. How you gave her a job. How you let her rebuild. I heard about all of it. And I couldn't believe it. After everything we did to you. After everything I said. You still gave her a chance. I didn't do it for her, I said. I did it for myself. I know. That's what makes it so amazing. You didn't do it because you had to. You did it because you chose to. You chose to be better than us. The words hung in the air. I didn't think you'd come, I said. I didn't think you'd want to see me. I didn't want to, he admitted. At first. I was so angry. So bitter. I thought you'd destroyed my family. I thought you'd taken everything from us. But then I ring the stories. About the center. About the people you're helping. About Mom. About how happy she is. And I realized that you didn't destroy my family. You saved it. Derek, let me finish. Please. I need to say this. I waited. I came here today because I wanted to apologize, he said. I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. For Thanksgiving. For the corner table. For what I said about putting you in a home. For all of it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I looked at him. The man who'd been so confident. So dismissive. So cruel. Now he was crying. I don't forgive you, I said. He nodded. I understand. Not yet, I said. Maybe not ever. But I'm willing to let you try. I'm willing to give you a chance to show me who you really are. He looked at me. His eyes were red. Really, I'm not doing it for you, I said. I'm doing it for Sophie. For Patricia. For the center. For all the people who are trying to build something new. I'm doing it because I believe in second chances. He crying. I don't deserve this, he said. I don't deserve any of this. Probably not, I said. But that's not how grace works. Grace isn't about deserving. It's about giving people a chance to be better. He stood up. He walked toward me. He stopped a few feet away. Can I hug you? He asked. I thought about it. Ca refill, I said. I'm old. I break easily. He hugged me gently. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for not giving up on me. I didn't hug him back. Not because I didn't want to. Because I didn't know if I was ready. But I let him hug me. And that was enough. Sophie came out of the center. She was wiping her eyes. I heard, she said. I heard everything. How much enough? She walked over to Derek. Brother, she said. You have a long way to go. I know. But I'm glad you're here. Me too. They hugged. Brother and sister. Rebuilding something they'd both broken. I watched them. And I thought about Marcus. I thought about the man who'd always believed in redemption. I thought about the man who'd squeezed my hand 3 times. I thought about the man who taught me that love was stronger than hate. I should go, Derek said finally. I've taken enough of your time. Stay, I said. He looked at me. Stay for lunch. Sophie's king. She makes my mother's sweet potato casserole. She's getting pretty good at it. Derek smiled. It was the first real smile I'd ever seen from him. I'd like that, he said. We walked into the center together. The kitchen was full. Volunteers. Neighbors. Children. Everyone eating. Everyone laughing. Everyone shah-ring. Sophie brought out the casserole. It's not as good as Grandma's, she said. But it's close. Patricia was there. She was serving food. She looked happy. When she saw Derek, she stopped. Derek, she said. You came. Hi, Mom. She walked over to him. She hugged him. I'm proud of you, she said. For what? For coming. For trying. For being here. They stood together. Mother and son. Rebuilding. And I sat at the corner table. I watched them. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. The sun came through the window. The light was warm. The room was full. I was surrounded by people who had hurt me. People who had dismissed me. People who had tried to erase me. But they were also people who had changed. People who had chosen to be different. And that mattered. Grandma, Sophie came over with a plate of food. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. I'm better than fine. She put the plate down in front of me. Eat, she said. You need to keep your strength up. Strength for what? For whatever comes next. I looked at her. What do you think comes next? She smiled. I don't know, she said. But I know you'll handle it. You always do. I ate my lunch. I watched my family. And I realized that the deed had done more than give me a house. It had given me something I never expected. Hope that people could change. Hope that families could heal. Hope that the corner table could become a place of welcome instead of exclusion. I looked at the table. I thought about the future. And I smiled. The first frost came in October. I woke up to a garden covered in white. The flowers were gone. The tomatoes were gone. The sunflowers were bent and brown. But the garden was still beautiful. It was beautiful because it was still there. Still waiting. Still ready to grow again. When the spring came. I put on my robe and walked outside. The cold air hit my face. I breathed it in. Deep and clean and full of the promise of something new. Grandma, Sophie was at the gate. She was wearing a coat and boots and a scarf that wrapped around her neck 3 times. Sophie, I said. It's EARLY. What are you doing here? I couldn't sleep. I wanted to talk to you. I opened the gate. She walked into the garden. She stood next to me. We looked at the frost together. Grandma, she said. I have something to tell you. Tell me. I'm getting married. I turned to look at her. Married. His name is James. He works at the center. He teaches the ART classes. He's kind. He's patient. He makes me laugh. I didn't know what to say. I wanted you to be the first to know, she said. I wanted to tell you before I told anyone else. Sophie, I said. That's wonderful. She hugged me. I know it's fast. I know we haven't known each other long. But I've never felt this way before. I've never felt safe. I've never felt like I could be myself. He makes me feel like I can be anything. I held her. Does your mother know? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. You're the one who made this possible. You're the one who showed me what love looks like. You and Grandpa Ruckus. I thought about Ruckus. About the way he'd loved me. The way he'd squeezed my hand 3 times. The way he'd made me feel like I was the center of the universe. Sophie, I said. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Grandma. We walked inside. The kitchen was warm. I made coffee. Sophie sat at the table. Tell me about him, I said. She told me everything. How they'd met. How he'd come to the center as a volunteer. How they'd sta root talking about art and life and everything in between. How he'd asked her to dinner. How he proposed on the beach. How he told her that she was the most beautiful person he'd ever met, inside and out. He said he'd never met anyone like me, Sophie said. He said I was fearless. I told him I wasn't fearless. I told him I was SCA red all the time. But he said that's what made me brave. The fact that I was SCA red and I kept going anyway. That's true, I said. That's exactly who you are. The wedding was planned for December. Small. Intimate. In the garden. Under the branches of the trees that had once been full of leaves. You sure you want to get married in winter? Patricia asked. She was helping Sophie plan. Mother and daughter. Rebuilding. It's perfect, Sophie said. Winter is about waiting. About resting. About getting ready for new life. That's what this is. A new life. Patricia looked at me. Ca roll, she said. What do you think? I think it's beautiful, I said. I think it's exactly right. The week before the wedding, something happened. Derek came to the center. He was different. He'd been coming regular RLY. Helping with the legal work. Helping with the paperwork. Helping with whatever needed to be done. But this time, he had something else in mind. I want to do something, he said. I want to do something for the center. Something that shows how grateful I am. What do you want to do? Grace asked. He pulled out a check. It was for $20,000 RS. Where did you get this? Patricia asked. I sold some investments, he said. I wanted to give something back. To the center. To the garden. To everyone who made this possible. I looked at the check. Derek, I said. This is generous. It's not generous, he said. It's fair. It's what I should have done a long time ago. I took so much from this family. From you. From everyone. I wanted to give something back. Patricia sta root crying. I'm so proud of you, she said. Mom, I mean it. I'm so proud of the man you're becoming. Derek looked at me. Ca roll, he said. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I have a long way to go. But I wanted to tell you. I'm going to keep trying. Every day. I'm going to keep trying to be a better person. I know you will, I said. And I meant it. The wedding day was cold. But the sun was shining. The sky was clear. The garden was covered in a thin layer of frost that sparkled like diamonds. Sophie looked beautiful. Her dress was simple. White. Long sleeves. A flower crown in her hair. James was handsome. He was wearing a suit that looked like it had been borrowed from a friend. He had kind eyes and a nervous smile. Patricia was crying. Derek was standing next to his mother. He was holding her hand. And I was in the front row. Sitting in the corner seat. Sophie had made sure of it. Grandma, she'd said. You need to be in the place of honor. You're the reason any of this is possible. You're the reason we're all here. You're the reason we're a family. I tried to argue. I tried to say that the front row was for parents. For the bride's mother. For the groom's family. Grandma, she'd said. You're my family. You're the most important person in my life. You get the corner seat. So I sat there. And I watched. Sophie walk down the aisle. She was holding a bouquet of white flowers. She was smiling. She stopped in front of me. She bent down and kissed my cheek. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. And then she walked to James. The ceremony was short. Simple. Perfect. They exchanged vows. They promised to love each other. They promised to be there for each other. They promised to build a life together. When they kissed, everyone cheered. Patricia was sobbing. Derek was clapping. I was sitting in my corner seat. And I was happy. After the ceremony, there was a reception. In the center. In the kitchen. Where it all sta root. Sophie had made my sweet potato casserole. Grandma, she said. I want you to have the first bite. She handed me a plate. I took a bite. It was perfect. This is the same recipe, I said. The one from my mother. Yes, Sophie said. I wanted to honor her too. I wanted to honor everyone who came before. Everyone who made this possible. I hugged her. Sophie, I said. You're going to be a wonderful wife. And someday you're going to be a wonderful mother. I hope so, she said. I know so, I said. Because you Leah Rened from the best. She laughed. From you, from all of us, I said. From Patricia. From M.A. Ricus. From everyone who loved you. The party went on for hours. People danced. People ate. People laughed. And I sat at my corner table. I watched. I smiled. And I knew that everything was exactly as it should be. At the end of the night, Sophie came to me. Grandma, she said. I have something for you. She handed me a box. I opened it. Inside was a framed photograph. It was the picture she'd taken. The one of me sitting at the corner table in the old house. The one she'd taken before the renovation. I was smiling. I looked happy. I looked like I belonged. Sophie, I said. This is beautiful. I wanted you to have it, she said. I wanted you to remember. Not the hard times. Not the hurt. But the moment you took back your seat. The moment you claimed what was yours. I looked at the photograph. I looked at the woman in the picture. She was 72 years old. She was wearing a blue dress with a lace collar. She was sitting at a table that had once been taken from her. And she was smiling. Because she knew that she had won. Not by destroying. But by building. Thank you, I said. Thank you for everything. Grandma, she said. Thank you. For showing me what it means to be brave. For showing me what it means to be kind. For showing me what it means to be family. I hugged her. And I squeezed her hand 3 times. I love you. She squeezed back. 3 times. I love you too. The night was quiet. The garden was cold. But my heart was warm. I went home. I sat in my kitchen. I thought about Americus. I thought about the corner table. I thought about the deed. And I realized something. The deed had never been about the house. It had never been about the money. It had never been about revenge. The deed had been about something else. It had been about the seat. The seat I'd claimed. The seat I'd kept. The seat I'd passed on. I wrote in my journal. I wrote about the garden. I wrote about the center. I wrote about Sophie and James and Patricia and Derek and all the people who had come together. I wrote about how we'd sta root as strangers and become a family. And at the end of my journal, I wrote something else. The best revenge is not destruction. The best revenge is building something beautiful. The best revenge is showing the people who hurt you that they didn't break you. They made you stronger. And that's the real victory. I closed my journal. I looked out the window. The frost was melting. The garden was coming back to life. And I knew that spring was coming. Not just to the garden. To everything. To all of us. I went to bed. I slept soundly. And in my dreams, I was at the corner table. Americus was there. He was smiling. He squeezed my hand. 3 times. I love you. I love you too. I said. And I knew that everything was going to be okay. Because I had done something remarkable, that I hadn't destroyed, that I had built, that I hadn't hated, that I had loved. I hadn't given up. I had kept going. And that was the real victory. The deed was gone. But the lesson remained, that you can be pushed aside, that you can be dismissed, that you can be told you don't belong. But you can always take back your seat. That you can always claim what's yours. That you can always build something beautiful. That's what I did. That's what I'll always do. Because I'm not invisible. I'm not a cockroach. That I'm not a problem to be solved. I'm C.A. Roll Davis. And I sit at the corner table. The end.